Rajam Krishnan. Rajam Krishnan was born in 1925 in Mussoorie, Tiruchi district in Tamil Nadu. She was an important Tamil writer. Her works depict the lives of women in Tamil Nadu, particularly the Brahmin women, in a realist style and lucid language. She had a very little formal education and appears to have been largely an autodidact. She started publishing in her 20s. She is known for writing well researched social novels on the lives of people usually not depicted in modern Tamil literature, such as poor farmers, salt pen workers, small time criminals, undertried prisoners, and female laborers. She has written more than 80 books. Her works include 40 novels, 20 plays, 2 biographies, and several short stories. In addition to her own writing, she was a translator of literature from Malayalam to Tamil. In their anthology of women's writing in India in the 19th and 20th century, J. Tharu and K. Lalita credited Krishnan with having set a new trend in Tamil literature, referring to the extensive research that Krishnan did in evaluating social conditions as background for her writing. In 1973, she was awarded the Sahitya Akademi Award for Tamil for her novel Verukku Neer. In 2009, her works were nationalized by the government of Tamil Nadu for a compensation of 3 lakhs. It was a rare occurrence as only works of dead writers are usually nationalized in Tamil Nadu. Krishnan's work expressed her anguish at the way inequalities are perpetuated in one form after another. Her novels and short stories have been translated into various Indian languages and English. Rajam was left poor and destitute in her late years and had been admitted to an old age home. She died on 20 October 2014. The next writer that we are going to see is Sarah Joseph. Sarah Joseph was born into a conservative Christian family at Kurinji in Thrissur city in 1946 to Louis and Koche Mariam. She was married at the age of 50 when she was in class 9. She attended the teacher's training course and began her professional career as a school teacher. Later, she received her BA and MA in Malayalam as a private candidate and joined the collegiate service in Kerala. She served as a professor of Malayalam at Sanskrit College, Patambi. Sarah Joseph is also a well-known social activist and feminist movement leader. In the 1980s, she founded the women's group of Manushi at Sanskrit College in Patambi, where she also taught Malayalam and literature. With her group, she led protests over several decades in response to a wide range of criminal against women, including rape, dowry deaths, trafficking, and sexual slavery. Her literary career began when she was in high school. Many of her poems appeared in Malayalam weeklies. She was also good at reciting her poems at poets' meets, which was much appreciated by many poets. She has published a trilogy of novels which includes Alayade Penmakkal, Mathadi, and Otappu. Otappu has been translated into English by Valsen Tampu under the title Otampu, The Scent of the Other Side. Her novel Alayada Penmakkal won her 3 major awards. They are the Kerala Sahitya Akademi Award, the Kendra Sahitya Akademi Award, and the Vallavar Award. It also received the Cherukad Award. She is known for Ramayana Kadakal, a retelling of the Ramayana. An English translation of this work has been published by the Oxford University Press. In 2011, she won the Buttate Varki Award for her collection of short stories titled Papatra. A collection of her short stories translated into English. They are The Masculine of Virgin. They were published in 2012.
When the Kurinji blooms, title significance. The novel entitled A Portrait of Ruined and Devastated Tribal Life in Rajam Krishnan's When the Kurinji Bloom gives a clear picture of the ethnical value of the tribal group who lived in Tamil Nadu. It clearly explains about the uniqueness in behavior and how they stand apart from civilized society. The ritual practice, dressing style, family setup, and caste are mainly focused in this novel. The tribal people live in the forest peacefully along with the nature. Due to the advancement of technology, these people are forced to practice modernity in the name of civilization. The advancement in the science leads human to ruin the land for luxury and money. The wealth and place of tribes were exploited for industrial development. This novel gives voice for tribals against greedy civilized society which ruins their ethnical value in the name of science and technology. The novel sends with a message to the modern society about the importance of tribes and their ethnical values. Translated from the Kurinji Then, Rajam Krishnan's lyrical, erudite novel is a family saga of three generations of Badagas in Nilgiris. As the wind of social change and modernity invaded their protected lives, the innocence and harmony is replaced by conflict and tragedy that precede a new beginning. Using the blossoming of Kurinji as a motive for the passage of time and disappearance of a way of life, Rajam Krishnam paints panoramic views and captures the enormous vigor of a people in the grip of transition.
When the Kurinji Blooms character sketch by Rajam Krishnan, the first character is Lingaya, Jogi's father and field worker of the village, who had great belief of God and follow all rituals. He followed traditions of his community and worship nature as God. He takes good care of his family and also his brother's family. His brother Madan, who is drunk all the time and doesn't take care of his family. So, Lingaya loves his brother's son Rangan more than his own son. The next character, Madan, brother of Lingaya and father of Rangan. He drinks most of the time and doesn't take care of his family. His first wife died. Rangan's mother, he got married to Nanjammai and had daughter Rangammai. He always complained that his wife shouting all the time, even though he doesn't do anything to the family and house and kids. Jogi, protagonist of the story, 9 years old boy in Bagada community. He lived in Maragadamalai, Nanjan. The next character is Rangan, son of Madan. He left Maragadamalai Hatti after his uncle Lingaya suggested that Rangan would serve in temple. But Rangan thought that Lingaya was treating him and Jogi differently and thinks that his uncle is forcing him to do something. Next character is Paru, one of the most important character. She is first wife of Rangan. Before her marriage, she loved with Krishnan. She had some land and she used to cultivate it. After Girija's death, she take care of her son Nanjan. She sold her land for Nanjan education. Krishnan, he is from a wealthy family and educated person in the village. Krishnan was love with Paru. After Paru's marriage, Krishnan got married to Rukmini. He used to give some suggestion for villagers people. Sometimes he against for rituals that village people followed. He also helped for Nanjan education. He involved in some political decision. Girija, Jogi's wife, After her baby born, she died. Next character is Nanchan, Girija and Jogi's son. After his mother's death, Paru take care of him. He studied at hard and also in the end of the story, he became civil engineer. Krishnan and Nanchan worked together in Dom project. Nanchan married Krishnan granddaughter Vijaya. Some of the character is Rangammai, Rangan's sister, Raman, husband of Rangammai, Gauri, Rangan's second wife, Girija, Jogi's wife. After her baby born, she died. Vijaya, Krishna granddaughter, and she married Nanchan. Character sketch of Budhini by Sarah Joseph. The main character of this novel, Budhini. Budhini was 15 years old Santali girl chosen by the Damodar Valley Corporation to welcome the Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru with garland and tikka. Budhini is depicted as happy-go-lucky girl with highly optimistic perspective at the DVC that worked for the construction of the Panchayat Dam. Rupi, the journalist, researcher, and a distant relative of Budhini, who sets out on an expedition to the tale of Budhini. The next character is Suchitra, the photographer in the media industry and Rupi's friend, who accompanied Rupi on her expedition. Jagdeep Murmu, Rupi Murmu's grandfather, who hailed from Bharatpur, a typical traditionalist and who was deeply connected to the Santali way of living. The next character, Viswanath Ashda, who had come forward against the British government's plan to build dams. The people believed the perfect power of Ashda. Jauna, the jeep driver who appeared in the first two chapters, he was one of the who found a job for Budhini. Data, the one who provides shelter and food for Budhini.
I'll be giving an introduction to the Badaga tribal community and their life. So, the Badagas are an ethno linguistic community living in the Nilgiri district in Tamil Nadu, India. Throughout the district, the Badagus live in nearly 400 villages called Hathis. The Badagas speak a language called Badaga. Identification, the name Badaga was given to this group because they migrated from the plains of Mysore district, just to the north of the Nilgiri hills. So, in the decades following the Muslim invasion that destroyed the great Hindu empire of Vijayanagar in AD 1565. So, the Badaga is also a common name for the Gaudas, who are by far the largest party in this community. In the 9th century, the name was spelled in various ways. So, linguistic application. All Badagas and only Badagas speak Badaga, or more correctly Badugu, a Dravidian language. It is known a distinct language, but it was originally derived from 16th century Kannada, which belongs to the South Dravidian subfamily. Today it contains many words in English and Tamil origin, as well as many from Sanskrit. In pre-modern times, the language served as a lingua franca from among the various Nilgiri tribes. Then the socio-political organization in the Badaga community. India is a constitutional and democratic republic, and the Badagas have been involved in electing representatives to the state legislature since 1924. But their own traditional socio-political organization also is still alive. The community is divided into a number of Pratris, it is not correct to call these units subcaste, for they are not altogether endogamous and they have no forms of occupational specialization. They are like subcastes, however, in that they form a hierarchy with a conservative Lingayat group. The Udayas at the top and the headmen's official servants, the Chorayas at the bottom. Between these two extremes, there are one pratre of vegetarians and three pratres of meat eaters. It is arguable that meat eaters and vegetarians constitute two moieties. Political organizations traditionally Badagas lived in a chiefdom and they are still under a paramount chief. This is a high hereditary position always held by the headman of Tunari village. Below him are four regional headmen, each in charge of all Badaga and Kota villages within one quarter of the Nilgiri Plateau. At the most local level, a village has its own headman and several neighboring villages constitute a commune. Each commune takes its name from its leading village and its headman is also the commune headman. Regional and expressive culture. Regional beliefs. All Badagas are Hindus of the Saivat persuasion. A seizable minority, however, of the Lingayat sect, which is almost confined to Karnataka state. This is a medieval sect which adopted Shiva as its only deity and which still worship him through a phallic symbol, the Linga. Among Badagas, the sect is represented in the entire membership of several clans Adikiri, Kannaka, Kongaru, and the three which make up the Udaya Pratre. The Hindu Badagas, including these Lingayat clans, worship quite a number of gods, all of which are sometimes explained as aspects of Shiva. So, ceremonies in this tribal community is each village celebrates about a dozen festivals during the year. The most important are Duda Haba, a great festival which begins the agriculture year in November, and Deva Haba, God festival, which celebrates the harvest in July. Mani Haba is intended to keep smallpox away for the year and is celebrated in a few villages by a fire walking ceremony in which the devotees walk unscattered across glowing charcoal with no protection for their feet. Life transitions are marked by ceremonies including those mentioned above, associated with child rearing, weddings, and funerals. On rare occasions, each Badaga commune used to hold a huge memorial ceremony in honor of a whole generation of the dead once the last member of it has passed away. Next is ecofeminist reading on works of Sarah Joseph. Ecofeminism is an environmentalist perspective that figures gender into the analysis of why and how human presence threatens its own environment. So, the primary aim of this movement is to eliminate all forms of dominations. In fact, ecofeminism represents the union of deep ecology and feminism. Deep ecology examines the symbolic, psychological, and ethical patterns of destructive relations of humans with nature and examines how to replace this with a life affirming culture, while feminism concentrates on the connection between the domination of nature and women. The classic example for ecofeminism is Sarah Joseph's story, Vanadurga, which equals the destruction of nature with the destruction of women. Vanadurga is the family deity of Anita, and Anita preserved the name Vanadurga to be given to her daughter whenever a daughter would be born. But she is forced to engage in a fight with her sister Susama regarding a boundary dispute over the rights on their ancestral land. Susama wins the case legally and cuts off all the useless trees in her share of the property. When the trees fall one by one, nature seems to weep and rain comes down as a teardrop. Next, Anita finds her wearing a grey dress thrown from neck to knee, soaked in the rain, shivering like a leaf, shaking with fear. The little girl is bleeding from a wound of her throat and also from between her thighs. As Anita tends to wound, the girl announces her name as Vanadurga, the name of Anita's beloved Bhagavati, her goddess, mother of all colors in the world. Anita tries to feed her, but she cannot eat as her mouth is bleeding. Next morning, Anita takes her to a hospital as she had high fever and was coughing and groaning. The doctor curses the beasts who have reduced the little girl to this state. Durga succumbs to death, and Anita places the little body in her share of the land and where a statue of Buddha with shattered head lies sleeping covered in the soil. Anita lays Durga on the wet earth covered with wind, rain, and leaves. Nature thou art, and to nature returns. Then another idea of Sarah Joseph writes fearlessly about the gender based, the marginalized, and the body bound women in her stories. Her women characters rebel against the family and all establishments. Feminism for her is a tool to attack the injustice against women in society, and as an ecofeminist, she equates women and nature and finds the injustice to one as the injustice to the other. In the stories analyzed above, reveal a writer full of concern for the degradation of women and nature. Man's exploitation of both is portrayed with alarming sincerity by Sarah Joseph in her stories. Thank you.
Analysis of the play Budhini. Progress and so called civilization demands a heavy price, and all too often it is extracted from sources among the poor, marginalized, and defranchised. Budhini Bajan is one among the countless whose lives and livelihoods have been trampled upon by an uncaring society that can't be bothered with the poverty stricken unless is to exploit them. Here, in this novel, Joseph gives us a fictionalized account of not just Budhini but others like her who have been a raw deal. These are people who toil under a grueling circumstances from dawn to dusk but never manage to make enough for even a cup of rice and are forced into debt and destitution. They are strong armed out of their homes, robbed of their land, and left to fend for themselves in doleful conditions. It is an horrendous reality, and no one with the conscience will be left unmoved. Yet the powerful, though puffed up with its own good intentions and manipulative reimagining, the novel is let down despite aspiring for literary greatness. Analysis of the play When the Kurinji Blooms. In this novel, When the Kurinji Blooms, Rajam Krishnan talks about the exploiting of nature in the name of development and urbanization. Rajam Krishnan in this novel When the Kurinji Blooms depicts how Baduga community was clearing the forest and were turning it into a tea and coffee plantation. They were cutting down the trees and were slowly losing their affinity to nature. They become causative to other issues faced by the community which originally lived in unison with nature. The ecological concerns are expressed by Rajam Krishnan through the characters of Lingayya, Jogi, and Paru, who are the crusaders of nature, as opposed to the exploiters of nature's Rangan, Nanjan, and son of Yogi, the headmaster, and many others from the community who lose their love for land out of greed for money. The supporters of nature lived an eco-based lifestyle with lot of reverence for Mother Earth, were very happy and content with their life. They were deeply pained to see the destruction of nature and by all means tried to protect and preserve nature. On the contrary, the exploiters of nature do not care for it. They are eco alienated, money minded, materialistic, and greedy. In the name of modernization, they cause destruction to the environment. All their actions are the outcome of the vested interest. In this novel, Rajam Krishnan traced the three generations of the Baduka community, shows how the perception of nature changes through the years from one generation to another generation. Rajam Krishnan ends the novel with the inability of Jogi and Paru to come to terms with modernity and that they try to clinch onto the traditional way of life till the end. On the other, Nanjan, the representation of a third generation, is happy with modernity and science. Analysis of the beloved novel. The novel Beloved explores the all encompassing destruction wrought by slavery, which
So let's see the themes of When the Kurinji Blooms. Thematical representation of tribal religion in When the Kurinji Blooms. The novel tries to imply that people like Lingaya, Jogi, and Paru still had to preserve nature and their eco based lifestyle. They are the crusaders of nature who strive their level best to preserve it and ensure that nature is left as a legacy for their posterity to live a healthy and peaceful life. It also shows that people like Jogi and Paru are outnumbered by self centered, heartless people like Rangan who have no conscience and value money more than nature. The short sightedness of such people destroys the basic way to health and happiness, thus bequeathing an uninhabitable world to the future generations, who are left with no options except to fight against various ailments of the mind and the body. At the end of the novel, Jogi learns to accept progress and lives his life with a remaining existing nature. He finds solace in his traditional cultural way of life, though he is unable to accept the modern way of life, and he spends the rest of his life in his village, trying his level best to keep up the traditions and customs in every possible way. Paru finally finds the peace and contentment in the love and care of Nanjan and his wife, whom Paru adores till her last breath. Paru, who considers the earth with a great respect and love, dies on the lap of her mother earth, while tending to her beloved field. Nanjan settles down for a modern life, is contented with the science. The novel ends with a note of peace and equality between man and nature. Themes of Budhini. Budhini by Sarah Joseph is a novel translated from Malayalam and is narrated from the perspective of a journalist who aims to unravel a story that reflects the dubious nature of grand infrastructure development in India. This fictionalized narrative of Budhini's life is not just a glimpse into the dynamics of community rules and traditions, but a look into problems that transcend one girl, one community, or even one nation. This will come across several wonderful perspectives on this book. These include the struggles of minorities who are expected to sacrifice their lands, cultures, histories, even lives at the altar of the greater good. With the large scale infrastructural development in post independence India, dams were hailed as the symbol of growth. But the mighty dams and powerful rivers have washed away homes and displaced families, turning them into collateral damage and nothing more. Along with these important themes, the experience of reading Budhini was marked by reflections on the
ethics of development to date. This book drove us into the Santal way of life, the helplessness that permeates through them when their fears are never assuaged but their identity is chipped away at. This book is first and foremost socio-political, and despite the elements of Santal culture, the narrative is constantly about the oppression. Sarah Joseph's writing captured the sensitive situation without resorting to objectification, which is why the descriptions throughout the book ring honest and haunting. The biggest takeaway for us from this book is not a reflection on the book itself, but on the lessons it has for our future. We are in the middle of the climate crisis, and much this current situation can be linked to the faulty path of development most countries have adopted.